Today, I'm joined by Dylan Hamlin, a fraternity brother and long-term friend whose career reflects steady and earned growth. When we first met, we were both working in the service industry. He was a server at Olive Garden, and I was a server right across the parking lot at Red Lobster. And together, we had many experiences in the fraternity and leadership, and we've stayed in touch the last 14 years and discussed business ideas and growth, and we've just stayed really tight. Today, he works as a project manager and HRIS consultant focused on implementations and lives in Austin, Texas. This conversation today is going to be about leadership, responsibility, and what progression looks like in life, but also keeping strong relationships. Dylan, thanks for joining today.
Hey, Ken, thanks for having me, man. It's good to see you.
Awesome. So where should we start? We were both working in the service industry.
Right across the street. Multiple brothers, too, if you don't remember.
That's right. We had several fraternity brothers working at the same places. Both of those places are owned by Darden, the same company. So it's kind of convenient how that worked. But we also had a lot of experience through the fraternity. And I wanted to discuss that a little bit today because with those experiences came exposure to pressure, goals, work ethic, and really just showing up and being disciplined. And you were one of the brothers I remember being there at every event I was at.
Yeah, there was a lot going on. We had college, we just had general lives, we had school, we had work. Making it happen was definitely, what's the right word for it? You had to be very intentional about your time, which isn't something you think about as much back in college as we think about it now, when our times between how our lives grow is so much busier because we have so much more responsibility. So that was I think it was just a matter of being intentional, prioritizing the fraternity and because of the people in it.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember both of us held several leadership roles while we were in Phi Kappa Tau fraternity. And it wasn't just leadership of a large fraternity. This is a brand new fraternity that I was in the original colonization ceremony. You were also in the original initiation ceremony once we chartered. And we've got so much experience from that. I want to reflect on some of those leadership roles that we had and how that helped shape our future.
It is kind of crazy to think the alpha class as it would be canon, but it's also, we talk about leadership, the way people think of a fraternity, it's definitely not the same experience we had. It kind of is now for those there, but it wasn't that experience for us. We were building something from the ground up. There was really not a lot of support, almost no money at all. And people from a lot of different backgrounds. It was so different jumping into that versus my expectation of a fraternity, which is what made wanting to take on leadership. You want to help everybody out. You want to be there. You want to help. You want to build. It definitely was not always fun. It was a lot of work.
Yeah, I agree. You could join a big fraternity where you are like a cookie cutter person and you just have to fit in and conform, or you're not going to be able to join. And then you had fraternities like ours, which were not just new, but established as the non-fraternity association or almost anti-fraternity. And it goes back to the founding of our national chapter that was started in a different school, 120 years ago. And they wanted to compete against the fraternities in all the sports. They wanted to do all the events, but they didn't want to be just like everyone else. They wanted a mark of distinction. They wanted to stand out against the status quo and the norm. And I think that's what we did when we started the fraternity in 2010. And when you joined, 2011, 2012 timeframe, by then we had still very few members and we were all wearing several hats, like 3 or 4 positions at a time. And I think that really it's a testament to the leadership of the people we recruited, like yourself, and the accountability it created in our own mindset where we have to do this because no one else is going to.
Yeah, it was like, if we don't do it, who's going to do it? And I have a nice little tie into that later. But yeah, I got recruited at work. Someone badged spring 2012. We'll always remember that. But I was getting it wasn't battered down, but everyone was recruiting. Greek life was always trying to recruit, get the next member. But something about Phi Tau just stood out to me. Always had done sports. Couldn't do that anymore. Lots of fun injuries. So I wanted something else to feel a part of something, but I didn't just want to be someone that stood on the sideline. That wasn't something that excited me. There wasn't something that would motivate me. Vital motivated me, especially the people. The people you surround yourself with make a really big difference in that. So seeing people like you and Andrew and other people in the fraternity that, you see them grow over time, you see them mature over time, because we were all kids then, but it definitely makes you want to do more. It makes you want to you kind of want to stand out. You have that bullish desire to you want to prove that you can stand against these other fraternities. You can beat them in other things. You can outperform them, not just because you have the numbers or the money, but because you have the work ethic and the smarts to go about it. It'll give us a lot of room for creativity, for freedom. We didn't operate in a black and white area. We had a really gray area, being a colony, where we kind of decided what type of future we wanted for the people that we were bringing in and for ourselves.
Yeah, that's true. And for anyone who's not familiar with Greek life or fraternity life, a colony is when you have the very first stage of inception of an organization on campus and you make it what it's going to be. You still have to have all the requirements, the bylaws, the fundraising, the community service, the grade point average, the social on campus. And so we really had a chance to shape this organization into what it is today. And this organization changed my life. This organization was a blueprint for every company that I've tried to start since then. And the friendships and the relationships that I've created since joining college and joining that organization as they were brand new have led to jobs. They've led to real estate opportunities, and they've led to lifelong partnerships that I care a lot about. And so that experience was amazing. Dylan actually was at one point scholarship chair, new member orientation officer. What other positions did you have?
Really, those were the two big ones. It started with scholarship, but we accelerated scholarship. We were in a point of our fraternity where our grades weren't the best between everyone, and we didn't really like that mark on us. Like, I think you said, man, like, it's a mark of distinction. Like, who wants to be known for a bad GPA? Like, it's something so small, and you take a lot of pride in that, and you also want people to succeed. Basic college work is nothing compared to real life. So we made that a big priority, which is kind of crazy. I guess you don't always think about that, but MO, or membership orientation officer, and scholarship chair were the two that I held pretty much throughout while I was there. I think that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, we got to mold it, and then we got to really just do everything we could do. But every organization and every business is really a reflection of the founders and the people that are involved with it today. And so, shout out to Phi Kappa Tau Zeta Theta chapter at UNT and all the brothers watching this. Thanks for your support. I want to move on to, I left Texas when I was 25, and I took a huge risk, and I moved to Denver with just what could fit in my car. And I started a branding company at that time just to survive until I could find a full-time software sales job, because that was what I was doing on the side of real estate. And you came and joined me for a short time building websites, and it was cool to see that you were there and you were down for this side opportunity, even though you were working a full-time job. Have you done any other side opportunities like that, while alongside your corporate role?
So little things here and there. There's always something new that I'm trying. To me, it's not always just about how do I bring in more income. It's how do I bring something else that's more like stable. I just like being busy and doing things. I've tried newsletter writing before as well, trying to find a little niche to get paid advertisements on a news article. So I did online coaching for a while for esports. That was my COVID side gig. That was pretty fun. That was intensive. That probably took as much work as my full-time job, because you spend time in these games with people talking, but that I could go into that pretty deep. But I did coaching for League of Legends online. That was
cool. That was
fun. Tried to stream. I don't have quite the personality. I think a little bit more on the temper side when I play games. So that was short-lived, but the coaching was fun. And then little things we hear like around my neighborhood. So there's always things we talk about doing. So I won't go into that until I've made it a reality. But there's things that we're talking about doing right now, because having something else to do, having side streams, I mean, it just adds to your life as well.
Yeah, it does. And that kind of leads me to the next point. So tell me about your full-time role right now. Just for a preview, Dylan is working in implementations. He is a consultant, and he basically helps execute what plans of what strategies, and when it comes to software and employees.
Yeah, so implementation at its heart is just software deployment. Just make sure you get the software sold. You can't you've been in software, so you get that piece. Make sure they're using it. So in the HRIS industry, though, for the larger scale implementations, a big factor is there. A lot of these operations are broken down. There's no efficiency. So when something's sold, it's on the promise that it's not only going to work, but that it's going to be efficient. And they don't always know how to bridge that gap. So the consultant side of the job is working with the C-suite, usually the COOs or the CFOs, to find any discrepancies in the work, where are they inefficient. You have this new software, just because you use it doesn't mean it's going to do exactly what you want it to do. So I step in to devise a plan. Here's how we're going to use it. I learn everything about their business, their company, from their payroll to their benefits to how they balance their books, even, to find out where the software can actually do its best work. And then we start implementing it. And then we start slowly, step by step, getting each piece configured, getting it in use, until eventually they're moved to a new scale system. I've worked for a couple large companies people might have heard of. You probably see their ads all the time, like Paycoms, things, and Paylocities, and things like that. If you haven't heard of those, you've probably heard of something like Workday, or you probably tried to apply to a job that uses it and been extremely frustrated. My job is to make sure that doesn't happen with people, and that it's able to easily work. So there's a lot of client interaction. There's a lot of people that get frustrated, and there's a lot of people that just want the bare minimum because they just want to be done. They're not always the people you work with aren't always the one that wanted to buy it, and they don't always want change.
Yeah.
Like consulting,
so
change management, implementation, kind of all the above.
Yeah, that makes sense. And being in the software sales industry for really the last 10 years myself, my performance was always on showing them what it's going to do for them. And then your job is like doing it, like the actual execution, the implementation. And there was always two sides of every business that I worked for, and all the startups. There was the sales team, and then there was the support and implementations team, the people that their whole job is applying what they're actually buying and making sure it's working efficiently and productively for their business for better decisions. And so, it's two teams that work really well together. And it's interesting that we're both have that tech kind of background, just from college to afterwards. And I wanted to also ask, you work for a company now that was acquired by Intuit.
Yeah. So information space is huge. So my company, I kind of like Trinity. I left the big companies. I decided I wanted something a little smaller. Albeit I knew it was going to be a lot more work, and it absolutely was. So I left for a small company called GoCo, based out of Houston, Texas, and just the only company I applied for. And I decided I want to go to a smaller company. Kind of thing, like you see the people there, you get to meet them a little bit through the process, but you get to really see how their product works. And it was just something that grabbed my attention. So I just applied there, reached out to some people, told them why I wanted to work, and got at this small startup that was a privately owned startup. So wasn't in a super scaling process. They weren't pumping money into it. It was very organic, and it was great. It was a lot of work. And after a few years there, it was a pretty good platform that we built, and we had shown some really good results, especially through implementation. And then Intuit came along and said, why should we build our own product when we can buy this company, take their product and their people that they already have, and move it over to our giant network of customers? And so that's what happened. So in middle of 2025, they acquired us, and it's still a work in progress. I can't say everything that's going on with that transition, but it has been a big work in progress since Intuit acquired us, and it's been all hands on deck.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. And for anybody who doesn't know Intuit, they own QuickBooks, TurboTax, Credit Karma, MailChimp, Authorize.net, and several other companies, like hundreds of companies, but those are the biggest ones. And so this isn't just like a small company, merging or acquiring another one. Intuit strategically purchased this company because it was more efficient than building the solution out themselves. And so it's kind of cool to see the progress that you worked on this for years, and then some massive multi-billion-dollar company comes in and says, hey, we like what you're doing. So
yeah, because kind of like you said, like at the fraternity, we got to wear a bunch of hats. We were busy all the time. At a startup, I was a lead there, but I went from a senior project manager to a lead project manager. But the ownership expanded so much more out through that. You wear a bunch of hats. Kind of reminded me of some of the clients I worked with as well. So you wear a bunch of hats, you get to see ownership. And when you see ownership in something, it feels a lot sweeter to see it kind of recognized. And you, especially when someone can actually place a value, like this is what your product's worth that you've helped work on and build over the last couple of years. This is what you've been beating yourself up over. So yeah, that was kind of a nice change. You hear about people getting acquired all the time. It kind of felt frightening, and I was pretty fortunate that it's been a pretty nice situation.
Yeah. I've been a part of, when I was in Denver, I was working for a company called Insight Software, and they got acquired, and they acquired 10 other companies during the year I was at that. And it's because big money, like big, venture capital firms coming in and saying, you guys look like if we consolidate you and make you one big company, we could do a much better job if we streamline everything. So I've seen that. It comes with a lot of challenges and costs. They actually flew out the entire sales team to North Carolina, to Raleigh, for 5 weeks to do trainings with Google trainers and trainers from overseas in the UK and London. And it was really cool to see the money that was behind it, because we got top tier training, but at the same time, the salaries weren't quite where they should have been. like it was like, we have great events. We have a great building in the Denver Tech Center, unlimited espresso, like any snack you want.
Oh.
But your salary is going to be barely livable.
It takes a hit. I took a pay cut knowing to go to the startup because I wanted to do more. I was tired of being stagnant, status quo. So, and then getting acquired, was kind of nice because they said, oh, let's bring everything up to market value a little bit more. So you take some hits, but it's kind of, when we were younger, it's easier to say, can I sacrifice here for this?
Yeah. So true.
Is that where you got your tattoo? Was it during that trip?
Which one?
The one you got when you're in Raleigh.
Oh, actually, I got one on my ankle with my wife on that trip. Yeah.
Sorry, I just pieced that together.
Yeah. We both have a Lucky Clover tattoo. We got it on that trip. After that 5 weeks, she flew out, and we drove down the coast down to Florida, and got a tattoo in Florida on our ankle.
I like it.
But we have a tattoo that's similar too. We didn't get it at the same time.
Oh, you're right. The key.
Yeah. So,
I remember trying to figure one out. And my tattooer was like, hey, I had this picture I've been wanting to draw. And I was like, hey, let's change it a little bit.
Yeah, it's legit.
I remember that. Yeah, it is pretty similar. I don't remember where yours is. Mine's on my arm right here. Okay, yeah, mine's right here.
Yes, sir.
Oh, shoot, that's pretty close.
Yes, sir. Great minds think alike, though, And I wanted to talk about the next topic, because we have a few more to get through in the next 30 minutes or so. Next thing is something that's a big thing. Marriage. Both of us are married. We were at each other's weddings. Let's talk about that. Like, how has marriage reshaped your priorities? Let's just start from the beginning.
I never would have burnt the candle at both ends probably if I hadn't been married. It would have been so much easier, because it worked but now I'm building a life for somebody. So it definitely helped advance my career a little bit, because it's not that I didn't work harder, but I also learned better skills in marriage. Like, I had to communicate with this person. I had to build a life with them. I had to get them to want to stay with me. Like, there's a lot. You grow when you're with somebody else, because there's someone always there next to you. So just to start with, being married and working, both of those, the way they grew me, she made me a better employee, and working at these companies and taking ownership and all the different hats I wore helped me to be a better husband. Well, first, better boyfriend, better fiance, better husband. So it all kind of grew together, which it's been nice. And it's not saying obviously you have to be married to be good at work or vice versa, but it was really nice to kind of reflect back on that. But it's really important. You share life with this person. You want to be able to introduce them to the people you care about, because the people in my life have shaped me. There were times I was mature in college, but I was much more hot-headed. I did not have active listening in college. I have developed active listening now. It was a pretty big skill. My empathy was lacking. So I had good intentions. I just didn't know how to corral it. I needed people in my corner. And those people are important to me. So I want them to be important to my wife too, which I've been fortunate that she gets along with everybody for the most part. And dude, the wedding was a blast. I'm glad you got to come, and I'm glad I got to share that with you too. Go see y'all's family and everybody there.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much every point you just said. IQ is one thing, EQ is another thing, and you can't change your IQ, but you can change your EQ, and you can work on it. And that's something that I was the same way. I was a little bit, well, not a little bit. I had a low empathy, especially in college. It was almost like if someone had an excuse, then it wasn't good enough for me. Like almost like a general, like show up or else. Because it was very directive, and that's something I've worked on really for the last 15 years is communication. And that's what I studied in school is communication. And that's what I've studied afterwards is behaviors, listening, growing, and just being a person that can communicate with anyone and find common ground and just, really see the opportunity and the good in people. Back in the day, I was a little bit like this, like a little bit closed-minded because I had goals and I wasn't trying to grow in that way. I was just trying to grow in the ways I was choosing. But being in relationships and being married and being, I don't want to say stuck, but like you are required to figure out problems. You're required to. You can't run from them if you're married. And so when it comes down to it, it makes you a person that no matter what, I have to figure it out with this person, no matter what the circumstance is. And that builds a lot of trust and faith and understanding that they're there for you and you have the ability to prove that you're there for them too. And so watching my closest friends and my brothers get married has just it's been a great experience. I mean, some of them have been through divorces and I understand that side too, but looking onto the positive side, it really does grow you as a person.
Yeah, but even the ones that get divorced, you just learn more about yourself. Like, not it's just like work, everything else. It's all about your mindset towards it, but also being able to take ownership. Where was I wrong? Where was I right? If I was right, great. How do I capitalize on that in the future? Because there are areas I was wrong in, and I can't let that conflate. You have to be able to get out of your own way sometimes, and sometimes you need a reset.
Yeah, and sometimes
Happens
you
at
need
work too.
feedback. Getting feedback from someone that has a different perspective and a different understanding of reality can sometimes change your own mind, and get us out of our own way or get us out of if we get stuck in a mindset that's maybe a certain belief pattern and you see a different perspective from someone that you care about, that you love. It does actually, I know for a fact, it makes me consider all options. If she has a different opinion or a different stance on something, and that's one of the things that's beautiful about marriage is that, women and men have differences, and, the feminine and the masculine, they go together like magic. You can do so much more when you have the entire scope of the feminine and the masculine.
Yeah,
And
I got pretty lucky when it comes to all that. My wife, what she does is tailor made for somebody like me. Works with she works with kids with autism, so
okay,
develops treatment plans for them, behavioral analysis. That's exactly. I mean, she's a board certified behavioral analysis. That's exactly what she does. Was very good. I'm pretty sure she did her magic on me early stages. Like, I'll give him a chance because I'm patient, but let me see if I can't work some of this magic in. Oh, it turns out he's ADHD. I know exactly the plan to use on him.
yeah,
So a little bit
yeah.
of bewitching, but
She's
it all
clinically
worked.
trained. She's
Yeah,
clinically trained. So
it's exactly what it was.
it's a strength, she's extremely educated. She's a very smart woman, and she can be with someone like you. And I'm in someone like Ashley is the same way. She can be with someone like me. I'm not for everyone, but
Yeah,
like Ashley is for me. She can handle me. Julie is for you. She can handle you. And it works really as a complementary instead of opposing forces. And so I think, for anyone that's questioning marriage these days, I will say it's so scary out here. I mean, not here, but everywhere. And to get to that point, especially for men today, when many are not seeing the value and many are not seeing the positive side, you have to make it positive. You have to find the person that truly belongs with you or that could be with you and tolerate you and build something. And they have to want to do that too. But the growth that comes from that it's immeasurable. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like it's, if I rewind 10 years, I'm a very different person. Same core, same values, but I've polished and I've grown in such different strides because of the relationships over the years and my wife and other people, her family. It's just, it's really a blessing to have someone that you can count on your team as a partner for life.
Yeah, and I think some people fall into the mindset too of almost like work or just taking advantage that it's going to just come to you, that you can just continue on the same way. Maybe you'll get fortunate and that'll happen. But when I took ownership of the things I was doing in my life, when I buckled down at work and decided this is what I want to do, I want to actually be good at it, started mentoring people, started taking ownership of just different projects as well at the company, and started growing that way. And I started becoming a better person that was more attractive to others, like just the way I carried myself, the way I communicated. If she'd met me 6 months earlier, a year earlier, we probably wouldn't be married because she probably wouldn't have gone out with me. And you can't expect someone to be with you because of who you can be, just like you can't expect to get hired because of who you can be. Like
Right.
they want the you that has proven results, that knows you. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I just think it means you need to take ownership of yourself, change your mindset, and want for more and strive for more.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all about growth and understanding that it's a journey, and marriage is the same way. You have to put in a stupid amount of work. I mean, at least I have. And if I didn't, I wouldn't be married, simple as that. So I want to pivot here to the next topic of home ownership, because I have been in real estate for, off and on, almost 15 years. And I'm an agent here right now in Idaho. I've been an agent in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, and I know a lot about the markets. But when it comes to home ownership, the wealthiest people in our country and in the world are homeowners. And it's not even close. If you compare renters to homeowners, I don't know the exact stat. I have to look it up, but it's more than 3x. I think it's like 10x. When did you buy a house? What helped you make that decision? Did you and your wife buy it? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, we got us almost a year ago. We got this house. Man, it was part of the ADHD in me, just a moment, a flip switch. I said, I'm buying a house. I'm not doing this anymore. But what kind of set it in motion? Yeah, I'd rented. My wife moved into my rental house. We got married. Decided I wanted more. Like I wanted to build a life with her. But also, where do you start? We both had good jobs. We were both busy. We had good jobs. We liked our life. It was simple. It was easy. We didn't really have a whole lot of responsibility at the same time too, outside of work and each other, because we didn't have a house. We didn't have a lot of other things we're building. We decided we wanted more of a life with each other. We wanted that to be a house because we wanted that to also kind of be an anchoring foundation. But getting there was not straightforward. And I remember looking at rental houses again and meeting some landlords, and it was a lot of factors. The price, for one, I'm paying this person this much money, and some of the landlords were not my cup of tea. The things they were asking, I was like, this is your house. Why am I having to provide all the appliances, provide all the lawn care, pay this exorbitant rent? Why are you charging me $800 for my service animal, golden retriever, and trying to make it seem like you're doing me a favor? Yes, they're hairy. No, they're not going to destroy anything. Why do I have to pay that much for a dog? It's hardwood floors. So cleaning costs $200 if I hired a professional cleaner. So, and charging a pet monthly deposit or a pet monthly pet fee after. So multiple landlords with different situations like that. One that finally just struck my wrong chord. I said, I think I'm going to buy. And I remember telling them, the landlord, that they just started harassing my cell phone. You're making a mistake. You don't know what you're doing. Interest rates are high. You need to save money. Well, how am I going to save money if I'm paying you $3,000 a month almost to rent a house in this area? Like, if I'm going to rent, I'm not going to rent a starter home, because may as well buy it at that point. So I wanted something that would fit us comfortably and we could grow in. But it's all that. And I just decided probably January of last year, I was going to buy a house, and bought one by the end of February.
Nice. Okay. So it was just a moment where you felt spontaneous, but also it was built up over years and years of renting and conversations that landlords were having around control and just, I mean, the pros at a certain point outweigh the cons, you know?
Yeah, the only pro was I didn't have the overhead of owning and being responsible for repairs and such. But what I pay now, a mortgage is not that much more than when I was paying at a lot of rents. It would just really my property tax is really the only thing that's really my extra overhead when you think of when I think of the difference.
Yeah,
If I took away my property tax, my HOA, I'd be very close to what a lot of those rentals were, if
that's
not
right.
pretty much at the same. And buying it was nowhere near as difficult as I thought it would be. I had a pretty good real estate agent that was a friend from church, but at the same time, she really just helped guide us through a lot of the language, make sure we weren't taken advantage of, and help point us in the right direction. Like I said, it was a short process. It wasn't near as expensive as I thought it was going to be. Went off pretty smoothly. We chose a new build home though. We wanted something newer. We wanted warranties, and we knew we had mapped it out. We knew the area, so we started there. Got a map out. Put a pin. Put a pin. Said this is where we want to live. This area. Let's find something. And then
Yeah, that's
yeah,
awesome.
pulled the trigger pretty quickly. But I also was heavily. I probably toured maybe 30 houses, maybe as well. And then after that, settled on a new build.
Yeah, new build is where it's at. Ashley and I are looking at that for our next home that we buy, hopefully in the next year, and we'll flip this one to a rental. This was a starter home that we bought in Idaho, and I actually purchased a home myself when I was engaged to Ashley in Fort Worth, Texas, before we moved out here. Very, very different markets. For example, I sold the house in Texas, moving here for $297K, and it was 2,650 square feet on a third of an acre. And it was the nicest house on the block. I had flipped the entire thing and made it the nicest house, which in retrospect, now that I know I had to sell it, I wouldn't have done that. You know, I would have done a more affordable flip and rented it or sold it to an investor. But I lived there for a year and a half, and it was live and flip. So I wanted it to be nice, and that was the mistake. Is I lived in it, so I have this certain standard I want to live in. And so
Oh, I hear you.
yeah,
Yeah,
everything was new,
you don't want
brand
to live
new.
something that's falling apart in any area. You want it to be tailored to you, sort of.
Right.
In new build, like someone selling a house, they also have there's the values of it. They're selling the new builds. I'm not dealing with a person, which I kind
Mhm.
of like. So maybe people don't like that, but houses are going to get built. It's going to happen. A custom home, that's always an option. That was not an option for me for this house, at least to my standard. So a new build was where it was at. It, it just made the most sense financially, but also got me everything I wanted, including that warranty, which I've
Yeah, the
already used
warranty.
my warranty multiple times. I've already used my warranty. So that's been great. I feel like to me, if I get to use it once, that's great.
No, that's so true. And half of all homes selling right now in the Treasure Valley, Idaho, which is the Boise area, are new construction. And it's because we do not have enough houses. The demand is so high out here that, you know, we it's not possible for them to keep up. And so they're building all this new construction, which is amazing because I sell new homes, you know, to help people relocate. And I know these builders. I've met them in person. I know their styles. I know, you know, I've been in hundreds of their houses. I've done all types of events the last several years, and I really know their product. And so I know what to look for. I know the commutes. I know the schools. It's been a journey because I wanted to learn this stuff too. Because I learned Dallas, Fort Worth, massive, massive place. I learned Denver, way bigger than here, but way smaller than Dallas. And then now I'm here, and it's like a fraction of the size. So I want to be the expert, you know, like and I want to eventually buy my own brand new construction and you know, get a little bit more central to everything that I'm doing. But it's also those warranties that come with it because the builders, they have a guaranteed warranty for at least a year, some of them 5 years, you know, some of them 2, depends on which one you're working with. But they also oftentimes have incentives and credits at closing or finish outs that they'll do to entice buyers because they know they're also competing against existing homes and they have to do something to look better. And the new construction is beautiful, but these days with some of the materials they're using and some of the labor, I don't want to say they're taking shortcuts, but my brother's a general contractor out here. He's very focused on preciseness and quality. And we will go to new construction and he'll point out issues and flaws right off the bat. And so, you know, it's not always the like new construction is amazing, but you also want to be working with a professional that knows what to look for and that can give you that professional opinion. That's why I love working with buyers.
And you also, it's not just, there's so many things I didn't think of that my realtor introduced me to a really good inspector, helped write a lot of the code here in Austin. He's been doing it for decades. But the things she pointed out to look at, I mean, I never would have thought about soil quality. Like, I'm in Texas, so red clay dirt is big, doesn't hold moisture well, it cracks easy. So what does that mean for your foundation, your fences? What things should I look for in this new build that's up? Part of the warranty was shortly after I got my fence replaced. I got all my posts redone by the builder because of the soil. Wouldn't have thought to really call that out and look at it and get it in there if the realtor hadn't pointed that out. Because yeah, the house looked great. We did our red tape walkthrough, which I don't know. Walk through with the builder. Everything you don't like, you put a piece of tape on, make sure it's fixed before you take the keys. But there's things I wouldn't have known to look for. She was great for that. Really fighting for some of the incentives, helping me to understand that contract language. She was a realtor that read my entire contract, called a few things out, and got it changed because of some of the wording. Because the builders use standard contracts, but depending on the area, the regional office, it might have changed a little bit. And she just wanted to make sure it probably wouldn't have affected me, but that everything pointed into my favor, where there could be no question of things like liability, making sure that I was getting what was promised to me. So she did all the heavy lifting for me, organized it, made it beautiful. And I think that's why it felt like an easy process. Like, I could have done this on my own, would have been a lot more stressed, a lot more anxiety, but it didn't cost me anything to use her. She definitely made it better.
Yeah. Yeah. Free advocacy is everything. And the buyer's job, the buyer's rep, the agent that you work with, her job, or my job in this case, if I was working with you, would be to bring the offer to the builder or the seller and negotiate their commission in with that offer. That's how it works today. You know, after all the NAR lawsuits and all the stuff that went down in the last few years, things still work a similar way, but now they're saying buyers have to negotiate too. And the fact that it's a service that's usually free, it's not always that way. It used to be seen that way for all buyers, but you know, the seller oftentimes is still paying that commission. So that, you know, she still gets a great commission off of working and providing that service to you.
Yeah, you know what? Speaking of that, I didn't know that. I learned this the hard way. When I first started looking at a couple of homes, I'm curious. One thing that turned me off was I got on Zillow, who hasn't before, and did a walkthrough with an agent there. Had to sign something. Didn't realize the length. My fault. I didn't know what I was reading. Kind of part of that first time. I was signing an NDA type of thing essentially, but it was an R form, and it was saying that anything I did, she was the selling real estate agent, or buying real estate agent representing me, so she'd be the one that gets that commission. When I noticed that, I said, "Oh, that's not good." And not to mention the lenders she pointed me out to had been gone out of business. There was a couple of other things, so I broke that relationship off really quickly, luckily, and was able to get out of that contract. But I didn't realize that, and it caught me off guard. And that's why I did my research. Like, okay, I need a real estate agent that's right here, that knows the area, that knows these lenders, people of that nature, so that they can help guide me through that process. Because there will be people that just want to get you for a quick flip, and I don't think they have your best interest at heart. Because at the end of the day, it's just like dealing with anyone in sales. And some people really are in it because they want to serve clients, they believe in what they're doing, and others that are just looking for a quick flip.
Yeah. I think 75% of all agents that were licensed last year didn't close a single transaction. So to me, that means that statistically, 3/4 of all agents don't really know what they're doing because they don't have the experience. And so it's very important to get in connection with an agent that knows what they're doing. You know, I'm in a brokerage that's part of the 1% of all agencies nationwide, and we're in Idaho, which is not a big real estate market. So like it's you want to be part of those, kind of like our organization. We were one of the 1% of Greek life. You want to be the best in real estate. There's no first and second place. You're first or you lose. And so you have to have a good reputation. You have to have knowledge and education and value that you can keep giving. And from there, it just spreads referrals, word of mouth, you know, good reputations, they spread like reviews do, you know, 5 stars. And so I want to move to the next topic just because we're getting a little out of time. And so what's it been like living in Austin, Texas? It's the capital of Texas. I used to go down there several times a year and have a great time, but I've never lived there. So what's it like out there?
I love it. I'm a Texas guy. Most of my family. Some of my family's in Texas. Most of my family is on the East Coast. When we talk about my dad's family, so all on the East Coast. Then I have just my parents and some cousins really here, and my grandparents. That's about it. So, but I'm not going to go live on the East Coast. That's just not for me. I'm not a big fan of the blistering cold, even though it's got beautiful falls. So Austin, there's really nowhere else in Texas I'd really want to live. I like Dallas a lot. Don't get me wrong. I love Dallas. And it's crossed my mind. When I was buying, I was very close to pulling the trigger in Dallas instead.
Yeah.
So,
We
but
talked about it.
I know it got close. There was a lot of people in Dallas. There was a lot of events in Dallas. So Dallas, I have a close connection with Dallas. I have a lot of really good friends there too. I love the sports events, the arenas, things that Austin didn't have. A lot of area in Dallas, so many places to choose from. The airports, like there was a lot of reason to want Dallas. My wife can work anywhere. I can get a job anywhere, but also at the time I was working remote when we bought, so it made my decision a little easier as long as I stayed in Texas. So we briefly explored Tennessee because her parents left California to go to Tennessee because they live outside of Knoxville by the Smokies. But we decided we were already renting in Austin, so let's plant down here. We've had a good time here, and I love it. There's always something new to do. I mean, I like my sports. I don't have really any pro teams. I go to Austin FC a lot because I like my soccer, but really Texas Stars. I'll go watch my hockey all the time. It's down the street from me. We love live music. There's so many venues around us, and it's something we can do on a whim. Be a Friday night. Let's go see if there's any concerts playing, and we'll head over to a show. Comedy, easy to get to. I know this is everywhere, but man, it just feels great here. The greenery. We have our 2 dogs. We hike the Greenbelt all the time. There's a couple of big fall areas and hot national parks around us. Makes it great. Yes, it's not the mountains. It's not California or Tennessee. That's fine. I love it. There's free flowing river, boats all over the summer. I mean, Austin's alive, and it keeps me energized. It helps me get through the week sometimes. Because there's always something we can do. Or I have a nice house now. I'll plop down and be a couch potato.
Yeah, that's
Depends
so
on how
true.
I'm feeling.
Yeah, Austin is one of my favorite places in the world. I love going there. I always have good friends that live there, and we always do we have the most fun every time. And it doesn't matter what it is, live music. Go back in the day, we go to 6th Street or Rainy Street. I don't know how those places are today.
Yeah, there's no rainy anymore.
Yeah, I know they built all the high rises. So
Yeah, I get it, but man, I'm glad I got to experience that. 6th is still there.
the West
I
Converse.
migrate. I've had my different phases in Austin, really. The 6th Street phase and Rainy, the Domain phase,
Right.
the East Side phase. Now I'm more on the north, but I kind of just sprinkle in where I'm feeling. Like the F1. We almost went to F1. We had to go to Boston. But the F1 races, I've been to the track for the Circuit of Americas for some concerts. Like I know every city has things to do, but I just
honestly, Texas is where it's at. If you want to do fun things, if you want to be entertained, if you like food and you like people, Texas is the best, and it's the reason it's the #1 state that people don't leave.
Well,
It's a fact. 80% of all Texans never leave Texas, and a lot of the ones that do move right back. And I totally get that. I love Texas. It's I am a Texan at heart, but I also I love other things too. And I've sacrificed things to leave Texas more than once, and sometimes I miss it and I get homesick, especially with my friends and family and the things that you can do out there. I'm a huge Cowboys fan. I haven't been to Austin in years now, and it's sad, but ultimately it's a great place. So what I've noticed is about 100,000 Californians a year leave California and move to Texas.
My wife was one of those. Her and
She
her
was one of
friends that
those.
all came from California to here. She came with a group of about 5 girls and 2 of their sets of parents.
It's true. Yeah, about 400,000 Californians leave California every year, and it's been that way for 10 years now.
Yeah.
And so Texas is getting 100,000 of them. That was a big thing even when I was there. And then Idaho's getting 30,000 of them. The biggest difference here is Texas is over 10 times larger than Idaho. And so Texas can kind of accommodate to it. Here it's changing the entire face of the valley. And it's like, one of every 3 people is Californians now here. And I love it because they're bringing in business, they're bringing in money, they're bringing in, all types of different benefits and entertainment. It's growing here. But I know that that's a huge factor with several states, Florida, Arizona, Texas, many other states too. But also California is the #1 deficit state of population. They have more people leaving than any other state.
Yeah,
I understand why. My
I
wife's
mean,
from California too. She was born there. So,
yeah, like, her whole family left. Like, I remember her dad's final straw was he couldn't build a gas stove. He's an engineer. He's an engineer, and he wanted to build his own, and they wouldn't let him without paying a pretty exorbitant fee for their own engineers to go and write plans. Just because he wanted to put in a gas stove, he likes neon signs, the glass blowing, the real neon signs. It's a hobby of his. So he likes doing that, but he needed a gas setup for it because his had broke and he needed to get a new one. And it'd been years and years, and they had new codes and ordinances in place. And that was his last step. He wanted to just expand his home, do more. They wouldn't let him without some high fees. He said he didn't really like that. So got himself a real estate agent and moved to Tennessee.
can't blame him at all. I'm actually working with someone right now selling their home in California and choosing to move to Idaho or Tennessee. Like,
I mean, I hadn't thought about it, but he had a good virtual experience. They only flew out once to view a few houses they narrowed it down to, and did everything else online, virtual visits, virtual inspections, virtual meetups. And they had a pretty good experience. I mean, at least for them, because they got 60 acres. There was a lot to go over.
Yeah.
And he's a very specific kind of guy, but they just flew out once for that, and then once when they were done for a final inspection, once they had selected and gone into escrow, which, yeah, escrow caught me off guard. You hear about that a lot. I had forgotten it when I bought it. It made it feel really real, but but that was a lot of money to leave all
when you're in escrow, it's real.
I know. It's like when I went and celebrated that night. I remember we went out to Bolden Acres here in Austin. My friends were selling because I was the first one to get a house, but it was just a nice next step.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, I do want to close the podcast with just some personal lessons that you've learned, whether it be from the fraternity or just growth in your career or marriage or home buying, or just really just any insights that you have about mindset, because we've known each other so long. You've seen lots of different behaviors that I've exhibited. I've seen lots of behaviors, as we've grown. You mentioned a couple times that you were a little hot-headed, and I totally understand what you're saying. I have been that way too. So what lessons do you have to share, with people that are looking to grow?
So I think there's like 3 really big things if you're looking to grow, and it depends where, but they can all be applied. So the compound effect, it's a huge one. It's the little things you start doing, they compound over time. It could be just, I'm going to walk 100 yards a day. Not even, that's not long at all, but little things. So, and they add up over time. Knowing what you want to do is okay. It's okay to not always have it all at once. You just have to be prepared that it's going to take some time. It took me 5 years to get where I'm at once I decided what I wanted to do. But I'm still moving forward, but I'm getting there. But I decided, I made a plan, I outlined it, and it's easy to say. It's a little harder to put into practice, but it all comes back to that compound effect. Just do little things. It doesn't have to be a big shift. Get your mindset in the right spot by doing small things. It could be something like cutting out drinking. It could be something like, I'm going to just write one thing a day. Just find that one thing that's going to help it move you forward and get your mindset into the place you want it to be. And then find places to take ownership. If it's a job, if it's in your life, where can you take ownership? And ownership isn't just responsibility. It's taking on a new challenge, saying, I'm going to own this, whether it's a process at work or reorg at work, something you can help with. Ownership on your body. Do you want to become healthier? Do you want to do something else? Or ownership on your finances? Do you want to kind of get yourself prepared to be in a state to buy a house? We made some sacrifices to do it, but it all started back with that compound effect. And I read a book on it a long time ago, probably over a decade, over a decade ago. But
I read that book too.
It was a fun book, and it was such a simple message, and it stuck with me all of these years.
Yeah, to anybody who wants to check out the book, The Compound Effect, it's in the description. You can buy it from Amazon. Just click on the link. Really good book. Would recommend it.
Yeah, it was a good old Dan Hardy. Yeah, Hardy life advice. If I took all that and had to go back and tell my younger self something too, I'm not sure what you would tell your younger self, Ken, and me. I would say, hey, I would just tell myself to start sooner. That's it.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
bounced
fail
around a lot
faster.
early.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fail faster, start sooner, learn life by doing the things that you want to do, not just what you're thinking might be something that could be like you have to learn it by doing it or learn it doesn't work and go pivot and find a different direction. And I want to mention the relationship factor because some of the biggest opportunities that I've had in life have been from creating friendships, being a person that can be there for other people to support them, and really just involving people, with shared foundations, but different paths. So you don't have to be in the same room every single day, at the same job every single day, and only have friends that are there at that job. I think having a diverse set of friends and surrounding yourself with people that not just the ones you aspire to be like, but also ones that you can help inspire them to be better. Because it's leadership is also growth. It's also learning yourself because you're watching behaviors of other people. So I think, people like you, people like some of my other friends from the fraternity, other business friends that I've had for about the same time frame. It's amazing to see the breakthroughs, the breakdowns, the highs, the lows. A lot of those are going to be invited onto this podcast. And that's one of the biggest reasons I'm doing it is to share stories from people like you, Dylan.
Well, thanks. And thanks again for having me because yeah, we all have our highs and lows. Like life's not easy, but it's manageable. And it just takes starting somewhere. Once you kind of get yourself in that mindset, I'll never forget the week where I decided I wanted something different. Again, it was probably close to 5 years ago. And then that really compounded into about 3 years ago when it took off. But it all started with me starting somewhere and being okay with failing because I just held on to security. It wasn't complacency. I held on to security. Like I know what I have. It's comfortable. How do I get out of the zone? And now here we are, married, house, good job, good friends, and yeah, the friends I hope continue the longest. That's always been important because you don't like letting your friends down too. So you want to be someone that can kind of be a foundation for them, not because we all have to support each other, but because we want to. We want to be able to share with each other success too. And the more successful I can get, the more I can do with my friends, the more I can venture out with them, the more I can help them get where they want to be, whether it's partnerships, investing, a lot of little things like that. Those are the people. Those are the people I want to do it with, though.
Yep, I agree. Same here. And so thank you so much for being on today. And thanks to everyone that's been listening to the Callis Mindset. We appreciate you being here and investing in your own growth. If today's conversation brought you clarity, motivation, a new way of thinking, share it with someone. Just click the share button, go copy paste it online somewhere. And a huge thank you to Dylan Hamlin, my lifelong fraternity brother and long-term friend, for bringing insight, experience, and just real stories today.
Yeah, man. Hey, thanks so much again for having me, Kannon. This was great. This was awesome. And again, it was always good to see you.
Yeah, and anyone who wants to connect with Dylan, search him on LinkedIn, or I'm friends with him on Facebook, Instagram. He's got a cool story that he's sharing, and he's living in the way that he's going to be able to tell a story. If you want to see more conversations like this, more tools of discipline, leadership, behind the scenes growth, or just a better way to stabilize your mindset, subscribe. We're on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all of the platforms. Keep leading yourself, and thanks again for tuning in to the Callis Mindset.